ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I'm very honored to be with all of you this evening. I was asked to speak on Bhagavad-Gita 2-3. But Prabhu here mentioned that he would like to hear something about my personal story also. So I would like to combine these two things. And first I would like to mention something which is really important for us to understand. In Vedanta Sutra it is mentioned Anandamayo Vyasat, that we are all beings of happiness. We are all searching for happiness, if we know it or not. All our thoughts, all our words, all our actions are indeed searching for happiness, wanting to be happy. And this means not just human beings, but from ants to animals, and black and white and yellow and every species. You just want to be happy, just want to enjoy. Prabhupada was once asked, what is the purpose of life? And he says, to enjoy. But the problem is that people don't know how to enjoy. They tend to think that things of this world or some worldly relationship will bring them happiness, real satisfaction. But this is explained by Krishna in 5th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. Yehi sansparshascha bhoga dukkha yona evati adyantavantah konte nateshu ramati buddha. That those who are intelligent, they don't seek pleasure in this world, because all this happiness of this world has its beginning and its end. So one who is intelligent doesn't want that things that make him happy will end, but they will inevitably end because they are temporary. This is their nature. So the more something will bring us happiness, the more misery will bring us too. Dukkha yonaya. It gives birth to dukkha, to misery, to suffering. So we should know how to enjoy. We should know how to be really happy in this world. And this is the mystery of bhakti yoga. How is this connected to verse 2-3 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna chastises Arjuna? He says, Klaipyam masmagamah parta naitatvayu kshudram hridaya daubalyam tyaktvotishta parantapa. That don't yield to this impotence. He's quite harsh to Arjuna. And from where is this impurity come upon you? Just stand up, O you destroyer of enemies. We should know that Arjuna was quite strong Vaishnava, strong Kshatriya. He was not as merciful as Brahmanas. For example, if you remember this lila from 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Agni asked Arjuna to protect him when he wanted to consume Kandava forest, because he had indigestion. He consumed too much ghee in fire sacrifices. And because of this, he had indigestion. And in Kandava forest, there were medicinal herbs that he had to consume to restore his health. And so he asked Arjuna to help him, because Kandava forest was under the protection of Lord Indra. And every time Agni wanted to consume Kandava forest, Indra sent forth rain, and he couldn't. So he asked Arjuna for help. So Krishna and Arjuna went to Kandava forest, and Agni started to burn the forest. And Indra immediately sent forth rain. But Arjuna created, in fact, the protective cage around the forest by his arrows. He was shooting so fast that there was a roof, or in fact cage, around the forest and above the forest. And when the animals wanted to escape from the burning forest, Arjuna killed them all, without any exception. Except Mayadanava, who took shelter of Arjuna, was spared, and he later on built this assembly hall of the Pandavas. So Arjuna was not so soft-hearted as he presented himself in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Because he prepared his bow to fight. He took his Gandiva bow and prepared arrows to fight. And then he asked Krishna to drive his chariot between the two armies. And Krishna was very expert in exposing Arjuna's weaknesses. And so he drove the chariot directly in front of Bhishma and Drona, those two personalities that were most dear to Arjuna. And he said, just behold this Kurus. And then Arjuna realized that he cannot fight. And he cited many different arguments why it's not good to fight. He said, Kim no Rajana Govinda, Kim Bogar Juviternava, Yesha Martika Kshitam no Raja Bogak Sukanicha. Why should I, Kim no Rajana Govinda, For what purpose will be this kingdom of ours? Kim Bogar Jivitenava, and why we should enjoy this kingdom and life if we would kill those for whom we want to have kingdom and life itself. So it's of no use to have kingdom and life and enjoyments if those who are dear to us would perish. So, in fact, and then he explained further that it's sinful to kill our relatives and friends, and if we kill them, then the family tradition will be lost. And if family tradition is lost, then women will be corrupt. And if women will corrupt, then will be Varna Sankara, unbeneficial progeny. And if there will be Varna Sankara, then all these rituals for the deceased ancestors will stop. And if this family tradition and these rituals and so on is lost, then we all go to hell. And this is not just my opinion. He said, Bhavati-tyanu Shushruma. I have heard this from authorities. So one would say these arguments of Arjuna are really strong and firm, but they're not. As Krishna immediately exposed him, that you're talking very highly, but you're lamenting for something not worthy of lament. He says, Ashochanan vashochastvam pragyavadam shabasase gatasama gatashamscha nanushocanti panditaha. And this is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, in fact, to make us happy, to relieve us from lamentation, from fear, from worrying. Ashochan means don't be sad. And he also concludes Bhagavad Gita, Mashucha, don't worry, don't be sad. So the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to make us happy. And we said that this is the purpose of life, to be happy, to enjoy. And on one side we have Arjuna, who apparently had broader selfishness, because Krishna pointed out that his arguments, in fact, are the very basis of violence in this world. One would say, how is this possible? Because he didn't want to fight at all. But his arguments are the basis of violence, of all violence. Because he divided, these are my friends and my relatives. But if there would be just enemies, some unknown enemies, he would kill them without second thought. So we should know this, our attachments to our family, to our tradition, to our education, to our language, to our culture, everything is just burden that separates us from happiness. Separates and kills our spiritual understanding. And in Bhagavad Gita there is another personality, just in the beginning, and this is Duryodhana. Duryodhana, on the other hand, wants to kill everyone just for his pleasure, just for his happiness. Arjuna didn't want to kill, and Duryodhana wanted to kill. And he said, even for his own part, Anyacha bhavakshura madartha tyakta jivitaha. Arte means for madarte, for my purpose. They came here, different warriors, to sacrifice their lives for my purpose. So we may think that these two personalities are very different, but from Bhagavad Gita we know that one has very shrinked consciousness and material consciousness, this is Duryodhana, and the other one has also material consciousness, but a little broader. But both have the same problem: selfishness, material selfishness. And this is called in third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as Pritak Bhava, separate identity from the Lord. So, if we really want to enjoy, to be happy, we should establish deep relationship with the Lord. This is the only way. There is no other way. There is no other way. And if you wanted to hear my story, this was also, in my case, like this. I wanted to be happy, like every living entity. And in my early childhood, I lost faith that I can be happy. I became a punk. Have you heard about this before? What is punk rock? Anyone knows? No one knows. This was a movement after hippie movement. You must have heard about hippies, because Prabhupada preached to hippies. And hippies, their ideal was love and peace, as you may know. And this is high ideal, and but of course they wanted to achieve it in the wrong way. Their motto was sex and drugs and rock and roll. So in this way they wanted to achieve love and peace. And this, as we know from Bhagavad Gita, this is just the way to deepest misery. But after this hippie period, there was punk period, very aggressive rock music. And the motto of punk was no future. Because they saw that this love and peace didn't bring happiness to anyone. So they thought that there is no future. That everyone just wants to exploit the other for their selfish purpose. And this is true. In reality, in this world, it is said that mother's love for her child is most pure in this world, most close to spiritual love. But we know that even mothers have some expectations from their children, isn't it? So, in fact, all relationship in this world is, to one degree or another, mutual exploitation. So only love of saint towards conditioned souls is unconditional, is completely unconditional. And of course, Lord's love for every living entity is completely unconditional. And this unconditional love is in fact the only way to achieve perfection and to achieve happiness. Savai pumsam parodharmo yato bhaktira dukshache ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. It is explained by Sutta Goswami at the beginning, very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is ahaituki bhakti, unconditional love, is in fact the only way to achieve the state of suprasidati. Prasidati means happiness, satisfaction. But suprasidati means complete satisfaction, complete happiness. And this ahetuki, unconditional bhakti, should be apratihata, uninterrupted. That means if we interrupt our bhakti for even 10 minutes or 5 minutes, that means that in these 10 or 5 minutes we are not happy. We cannot enjoy. So only unconditional love can bring us real satisfaction and happiness. So this should be our striving. And my life then, of course, these punks, because they didn't believe in any ultimate happiness in this world, they just were some kind of losers, more or less. And at one point I was really afraid of what will happen with me. I didn't have any problem to study, but I was not interested in study. I passed the exams somehow or other without much endeavor, but these grades were not so well, not so good. Then I became really afraid about what will happen, because if you have no goal in your life, you're lost. As also Krishna explains in 6th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. So if you're, Arjuna himself, he's asking, if you're like a driven cloud, you're lost, in fact. And and then one day I was really desperate, and I went to some cathedral, some Christian church, because I was born in Christian family, and I believed in Jesus, although I was punk. I have faith, but this faith was not, I didn't live by this faith, of course. And I didn't know anybody who lived by this faith, except maybe my grandmother, who was very interested in spirituality. She lived in the countryside, and had a little farm. And then I spent a lot of my vacations with her, and we worked outside during the day, and during evenings she was listening to Radio Vatican. This Vatican is the seat of the Pope, of Roman Pope. And they were praying Rosemary in Latin. Do you know what is Rosemary? This is some kind of Christian meditation, Christian mantra meditation, chanting. And they prayed in Latin, and my grandmother prayed in Slovene, in her local language, because she didn't know Latin. But she was listening so much to these Latin prayers that I, as a little child, learned this Latin prayer by heart, although I didn't know the Latin language. And then my faith was, of course, especially in uni, started to wane, to dwindle. And then when I went to pray to this church, I forgot to tell you this. There was one saint, because in Christian religion they have many saints that they pray for for different boons. They're like demigods in in Vedic tradition. And there was one saint in this church, the picture of this saint, who was intermediate for people in great distress. So I was praying to him just to help me somehow or other. And then quite soon after this, I first started to quit smoking. I was smoking cigarettes and ganja. And first I quit smoking. Then soon after this, I got enthusiastic about sports. I started to run, and I was also triathlete. Do you know what is triathlon? Triathlon? It's swimming, cycling, and running. It's quite a demanding sport. And I was going to high mountains because we have Alps in Slovenia. So there are high mountains with snow, and I was skiing from the tops of the mountains. So these were my sports. And I was really enthusiastic about sports. I became a marathon runner, and I ran a marathon every year. So I ran more than 25 marathons. So nearly 30, maybe 30 marathons. Quite a lot. Even in my devotional life, I didn't quit running marathons. I asked one Pankajangri Prabhu, you may have heard about Pankajangri Prabhu. He was a pujari in Mayapur. And he was coming to Europe because he had to extend his visa for India, for himself and for his brother, because they looked the same, because they were twins. Only he went to the West. And one day he went as himself, and the other day as his brother. To extend visa, because his brother never left Mayapur. And so we had, in Slovenia, we had the opportunity of his association, because he came to Slovenia many times. And I asked him if this running is not beneficial for a spiritual life. But he said it's very good. So I continued. Under his blessings. So later on, and even when I became very active in sports and so on, also my grades improved dramatically. I became an excellent student, and then I was writing a diploma. I was writing on the topic of universal ethics. And then I encountered, I studied also Christian saints. And I encountered Saint Francis of Assisi. You may have heard about him. He's very extraordinary saint. He because I assume you're all Vaishnavas. He also was writing about different relationships with the Lord, about different rasas. He wrote that the soul can be a mother of God, and that the soul can be a fiancée of God, and also, of course, servant of God and son of God. So many different relationships he described. And he also established Grihastha ashram. Yes, but that was really unique in Christian church, because only monks gave these perpetual eternal vows. But he also, because he was so vivid preacher that everyone wanted to join his movement, but he was a mendicant. And one time he preached in one court, and everyone wanted to join him to become mendicants. And so he said it's not practical for everyone to be mendicants, and he established Grihastha ashram, that also those who are married couples can give eternal vows like monks, that they will pray, devote their lives to prayer, to study of scriptures, and to devotional life, in fact. But they can live married life, they can have children and work outside. And so because I read about him, my spiritual life began to rise again. I became very enthusiastic about him. And I also received, just prior to this, I received Prabhupada's books, somehow or other. One I received for a birthday present from my brother. Because I assume this was the cheapest birthday present he could get. Because on the street, devotees were distributing books, and you just gave a small donation and you received the book. And there was my birthday, and he was very glad that he received such a cheap birthday present for his brother. And so I received one book from him. And the other book, it was Ishopanishad, the other book, I received from my schoolmate from primary school, who was really weird guy. He was quite against the law. And when we met, he had full boot of Prabhupada's books. And I assume he stole them all. And he said, these books are interesting, and he gave me Ishopanishad. And these books really enthused me also with spiritual understanding, especially because I believe that these teachings of Prabhupada, of Krishna consciousness, is completely in line with Jesus' teachings. And I also much easily understood some of Jesus' preaching, in fact, through this knowledge of bhakti-yoga. And but I didn't consider to become a Hare Krishna devotee. I just was going to the temple to buy new books because I was very much attracted to these books. But I wanted to become Christian, devoted Christian. And because Prabhupada so much emphasized devotee association in his books, as you may know, I wanted to find devotee association among Christians. And so I wanted to become a Christian missionary somewhere in Africa. But because you cannot just go, I went to some course, myself and my wife. At that time she was my girlfriend. We went for a course which lasted for a year, and after we completed it, they said that because we are not married, we won't be a good example. So it's better not to go together, at least. And then they said, if we marry, that these places are not very conducive to have family. So then this our missionary part was gone. So then we wanted to join this third order of Francis, because I said we wanted to get married, and Saint Francis established this Grihastha ashram, that we can also, we consider that we can take eternal vows like monks, but in married life. And then we went to some meeting, their meeting, like it was not so big gathering like today, but there were a few of these devotees, and I was really enthusiastic because of Prabhupada's books and because of St. Francis' teachings. I was really enthusiastic how we should glorify Lord from morning till evening, all the time. In this sense of Kirtaniyah Sadahari, always. And this was also the preaching of Jesus, that one should pray all the time and never get tired of it. So, and I was preaching like this, how we should be enthusiastic and glorify the Lord all the time. And then there was one lady, and she said, it's okay for me if I devote my day to the Lord in the morning, and if I thank Him in the evening, and this is perfect for me. And I was really disappointed how lukewarm it is. This spirituality, this is not spirituality at all, I thought. And then I was explaining, because Saint Francis was all-encompassing. He preached also to other people from other religions, and he was explaining how all peoples of this world are glorifying the same God. And I also, in this spirit of Saint Francis, was explaining how indeed all peoples of this world are glorifying the same God. And I wanted to give them example from Prabhupada's books, because I was reading Prabhupada's books. And I said, for example, Hare Krishna. And there was one lady, and she said, Hare Krishna, this is devil. And I was shocked and taken aback. And then I just went to the temple. And this was the end of my Christian career. And I became a Hare Krishna devotee. And here I must say that I found saintly personalities. Yes, and we should really search for saintly personalities and associate with them. Because if we associate with those who are not so resolute in their purpose, as Krishna himself says, Vyavasayatmika buddhire keha kurunandana, bahushaka hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayanam, in 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-gita, that one should be resolute in his purpose, and that his aim should be one, only bhakti. And those who are not so resolute in their purpose, their mind is many-branched. They're interested in many things, many different things, and they believe that many different things will bring them happiness, but they're an illusion. So, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur warned us from such lukewarm association. In fact, he said that those people are just dharma dvajis. Dvaja means what? You know? Means flag. And they just pose themselves as devotees. And they are more detrimental for our spiritual development than materialists, outright materialists. Because we know if we have material association, we become aware of them. And We don't want to take their association. But if we have so-called spiritual association, then we can adopt their attitudes, and we can think that if he doesn't do this, why should I? If he doesn't follow this, why should I? And so this is really dangerous to have not really devoted association. So we should try to have as saintly association as possible, and to be ourselves the proper association for others, especially. More than just that we seek, we should give association, saintly association to others. So then I became a devotee, and I devoted my life to Krishna, because I knew that this is the only way to happiness. Everything else is just misery, nothing else than misery. And if we have family, then our mission should be to that all our family members become devotees. This is our only mission. Much more important than to give them education, to give them shelter, to give them clothes, to give them food. Everyone can give them this. Even animals, they give protection to their children, they give food to their children. But we should give them Krishna. If we don't give them Krishna, we put them in the lap of death itself. So this should be our mission, our only goal in life, if we are family people. And I believe majority of you are family people. So make your family devotees. Make your children devotees. Make your spouses devotees. And be yourself devotees. Devotees with all your heart, all your might, and all your soul. Because Jesus said, for example, you can gain whole world, but if you lose your soul, what did you gain? Nothing. You're a complete loser, even if you're a millionaire or billionaire even. But if you lose your connection to Krishna, your deep relationship with Krishna, you lose everything. And everything will be taken away. Somehow or other, everything will be taken away. All our billions will be taken away. I have a preaching program in Slovenia. It's called Wisdom of the East. Of course, we are speaking about karma and reincarnation and so on. And I use also a PowerPoint presentation sometimes. And there is one interesting picture how one skeleton embraces big heap of gold. So maybe he was embracing it when he was alive. But he just died embracing his fortune, his so-called fortune, which turned to be unfortunate, in fact. So our purpose should be tasyaiva hetoh prayatita kovido nalabhyati yad brahmatam utparataha talabhyati dukkhavat anyata sukham kalina sarvatra gabira ramhasa. It's from first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that one who is really intelligent doesn't seek something, he's searching for something that is not available in all three worlds. So one would say something is wrong with him. He's searching for something that is not available, but he's searching for something that is beyond this world, beyond all three worlds. this deep relationship with the Lord. And we can have, in Kali Yuga especially, we can establish this deep relation with the Lord only by chanting of His holy names. Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama Iva Kevalam. Kalau Nasti Iva Nasti Iva Nasti Iva Katiranata. So, I beg you to devote yourself to chanting. Because if we don't chant with all our attention, then our chanting is offensive. And we can never establish deep relationship with the Lord. Never. And if we pray for some material boons, not just through chanting, but also in other occasions, for health, for good family relationship, for good husband or good wife, for peace, and anything like this, this is also offensive to the holy name, because we will lose all these boons sooner or later. But if we lose our connection with Krishna, we are the real losers. So find your time, especially this Brahma Muhurta time is very, very beneficial, very conducive for chanting. So please devote yourself to chanting. Just chant. Switch off your phones, the ultimate distractors, and put them away in some other room. Don't keep them 10 feet around yourself, or even more. Just put them away and lock it. And just chant, and connect with Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi Hari.